Are we going to talk about it?
What?
The elephant in the room.
What elephant?
I guess not then.
You're referring to today?
Yeah, what's the deal with today?
There was an idiom in that previous clip. I hope that you heard it. These videos are all about idiomatic phrases. Hello, my name is Dakota, and if you've ever walked out of an English class thinking, hey, I'm beginning to really understand English, only to be totally frustrated when you sat down and watched an American movie. You may have understood most of the words being spoken, but you couldn't understand the meaning. Having a clear understanding of English is so important, whether it's being used in school, social situations, or in your professional life. English has become the common world language, and regardless of why you're trying to learn it, it is essential that you understand the true meaning of what is being said. To do so, you must understand idioms and phrasal verbs. This is why I'm making these videos. So sit back and relax, and let's learn about idioms and phrasal verbs.
Let's take a look at our first phrase. The name of this phrase is, bury the hatchet. The meaning of this phrase is, to make peace. To become friendly again after a disagreement. An example of this phrase is, hey Mittens. I know you're still angry with me. Can't we just bury the hatchet? I want to be friends again. The cat is saying that although they previously had a disagreement, he would like to become friends again. And just to summarize, bury the hatchet means to agree to end a disagreement. To stop arguing about something. Excellent. Now let's take a look at some video clips that provide examples of this phrase.
Peter, can I talk to you?
What?
Look, I know we've had our differences, but I'm hoping that someday we can bury the hatchet. Maybe even be friends. Until then, I want you to take care of this for me.
Here, Wild West is telling Peter that although they have not previously agreed on some issues, he's hoping that they can bury the hatchet. Wild West is saying that although he and Peter have had some disagreements, he's saying that he hopes that they end their disagreements and become friends.
If we're gonna survive, you and me, we gotta make amends.
How do you suggest we do that?
Along with my dad, we bury the hatchet. All this nonsense between us.
Here, Nicky, who is a mafia boss, is talking with Dwight about wanting to bury the hatchet between their two groups. Nicky is telling Dwight that he wants to end all of the conflict that exists between their two groups and make peace.
Okay, maybe it's time to bury the hatchet!
Here, Kitty is fighting with Jack over a magic map. After Kitty throws a small bomb at Jack, he acts a little concerned and talks about burying the hatchet. Jack is implying that he wants to make peace with Kitty. However, Jack is lying and he reaches for a real hatchet to attack Kitty with. Great! Now let's look at our second phrase. The name of this phrase is elephant in the room. The meaning of this phrase is an obvious problem that people do not want to talk about. An example of this phrase is, okay everyone. It's time that we address the elephant in the room. We have lived in this house all our lives, but we need to talk about selling our house. The man is saying that although everyone is sitting quietly at the dinner table, he knows that everyone is worrying about what they will do with their house, and he wants to discuss it. And just to summarize, elephant in the room is a major problem or controversial issue that is obviously present, but avoided. Now let's look at some video clips that provide examples of this phrase.
Are we going to talk about it?
What?
The elephant in the room.
What elephant?
I guess not then.
You're referring to today.
Yeah, what's the deal with today?
We all made mistakes.
Here, Violet is asking her parents whether they are going to talk about the elephant in the room. Violet is asking her parents whether they are going to discuss the obvious problem that exists, that everyone seems to want to avoid talking about.
I'm gonna address the elephant in the room. Okay, first of all, you guys, I want to say sorry to, because what you're probably thinking is not what happened.
Here, Calvin is talking with Agent Harris and two other government agents. Calvin says that he's going to address the elephant in the room. Calvin is saying that he wants to talk about a difficult subject that everyone is thinking about, but that nobody really wants to talk about.
Seems like both of us sought out careers with their share of tough days.
Why do you think that is?
Because we're both f***ing crazy.
Oh, man. Finally, someone addresses the elephant in the room.
Here, Stacy, an ATF agent, is talking with Dwight about their personal lives while having dinner. She talks about how they both have chosen dangerous occupations for themselves, because they are both a little crazy. Dwight laughs and says that finally, someone has addressed the elephant in the room. Dwight is saying that he is thankful that Stacy has talked about the obvious problem that they both have. Each of them is a little crazy. Fantastic. Let's continue on with our third phrase. The name of this phrase is, catch my drift. The meaning of this phrase is to understand the general meaning of what someone is saying. An example of this phrase is, the person that is selling this house is having doubts about selling. But maybe you could come over and try to develop a friendship with them. You catch my drift? The salesman is telling the customers that the sellers of the house are not really sure if they want to sell the house, but he is implying that if they introduce themselves to the seller, they may be able to convince them to sell it. And just to summarize, catch my drift means to understand what is being implied. Excellent. Now let's look at some video clips for more examples of this phrase.
You're right, that's a great idea.
What?
I'll take the apartment upstairs. I can finally get away from my mother and we can all spend some more time together. If you catch my drift.
Here, Howard is talking to his friends about moving out of his house that he shares with his mother. He says that he can move into an upstairs apartment and then he can spend more time with his friends. After saying this, he stares at Penny and says, if you catch my drift. Howard is implying that he can be closer to where Penny lives and that he will have more time to romance her. When he says, catch my drift, he is asking Penny if she understands what he is actually saying.
Good to see you too. Listen, Blue, we are looking for a singer, a dancer, the whole package.
Yeah, and you're more of a mumbler shuffler. You catch my drift?
Oh, no, I'm not here to audition. I've got news.
Here, Nico and Tiago are interviewing people that can be in the Carnival show. During their conversation, Nico says that they're looking for someone that performs very well, but that he thinks Blue is more of a mumbler shuffler. He then says, you catch my drift? Nico is saying that he doesn't think that Blue would be very good in the show, because he is boring and mumbles a lot. He also wants to know if Blue understands what he is saying, because he is not being totally direct with his thoughts.
Just a little tired.
I hope not too tired, because I'm feeling particularly masculine right now. All systems go, if you catch my drift.
I always catch your drift.
Here, Bernadette is talking to her husband, Howard, while driving in a car. Howard tells Bernadette that he is feeling masculine. He then says, "If you catch my drift." Howard is telling Bernadette that he is in the mood for romance and wants to know if she understands what he is trying to communicate to her. So we've now finished 3 phrases. What do you think? Are you enjoying these videos? We have more of these free videos online and we're working hard to add more each week. It takes a lot of time to create this content and we could really use your help. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. By subscribing to our channel, you will be able to receive notifications whenever we upload a new video to YouTube. We really need your help. Great work! We're now going to discuss our 4th phrase. The name of this phrase is, make your mark. The meaning of this phrase is, to do something that causes you to become noticed or famous. An example of this phrase is, I'm only 18 years old, but I'm planning on making my mark as a boxer, very soon. The man is saying that he plans to do something special in the boxing ring that will make him famous. And just to summarize, make your mark means to do something that will be remembered or that makes someone famous. Now let's look at some video clips that provide examples of this phrase.
So, what would the believer say? The believer would tell you to make your mark. Don't wait for permission. Assert yourself and impose your will on the status quo. Sounds like my brother.
Here, Helen, who is Elastigirl, is talking with Evelyn, an inventor. Evelyn is discussing the philosophy of their work. When Evelyn asks, what would a person with commitment say? Helen tells her to make her mark. Helen is saying that Evelyn should do something that causes her to become noticed and recognized for her abilities.
Oh, their job is so much cooler. Oh, come on, let me out, please. I need to make my mark.
Oh, you've made plenty of marks, all in the wrong places.
Here, Hiccup is thinking about how cool his friends are because they battle the dragons. Hiccup is envious and wants to find a way to make his mark. Hiccup wants to find a way to become noticed and famous by doing something impressive or important.
I was a little like you when I started here. Little chunkier, much less makeup. But I wanted to make my mark too. But I don't want to be part of your rebranding.
Here, Bridget is responding to Alice's desire to fire her. Bridget tells her that she remembers when she, herself, was younger and trying to make her mark as a TV producer. Bridget is recalling when she was younger and trying to do something impressive so that she could become famous and receive recognition. That's terrific. We're now going to look at our 5th phrase. The name of this phrase is, stay put. The meaning of this phrase is, to not move or go anywhere. An example of this phrase is, did you just tell me to stay put? You do know that I'm a cat, right? A cat doesn't take orders. I'm gonna go where I want, when I want. The cat is saying that because he is a cat, he cannot be told to not move. And just to summarize, stay put means to remain in one place. To not move. Now let's look at some video clips that provide examples of this phrase.
Marge, you gotta watch out! Your little boy Bart could have been eaten by that pony!
Oh my God, Barney, thank you! I would never have forgiven myself. Now you stay put, young lady.
Here, Barney tells Marge that she needs to start paying attention to her daughter more. Marge says thank you to Barney and then places her daughter on the floor. Since she is focused on gambling, she looks at her daughter and tells her to stay put. Marge is telling her daughter not to move from the area.
What if we need to disobey you?
And why would you need to do that?
Well, let's say that you tell me to stay put. Alvin, if you move from that chair, you're grounded.
Here, Alvin is explaining to Dave why he might sometimes need to disobey Dave. Alvin uses an example where Dave first tells him to stay put. Alvin is beginning his explanation by describing a situation where Dave is telling him to not move outside a specific area.
Well, I suppose I should be heading down to the field to accept my World Series trophy. You just stay put, little Yankee. I'm sure your parents have given up looking for you by now.
Here, Mr. Cross is telling Yankee that he's going to go down to the field to accept his World Series trophy. He tells Yankee to stay put, while he goes down to the field. Mr. Cross is telling Yankee not to leave the office, because his parents have stopped looking for him.
Just listen to me! Listen! You can't! It's your wife!
Maudie, keep this and don't let her out!
What about the bear?
Just stay put!
Here, Fergus has locked his daughter, Merida, in the castle. He tells one of the servants to make sure that his daughter stays put. Fergus is telling the servant not to let her daughter get out of the room that she is locked in. All of us here at TD English hope that you're enjoying these videos, but we need your help. The YouTube algorithm doesn't really support us because we are a young channel. If you enjoyed these videos, please spread the word by copying the link to this video to Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, or any other form of social media that you use. We need our community of English learners to work together to allow us to produce more of this content. We also want to thank all of you for subscribing and helping us. It is greatly appreciated. You're doing great. Let's look at our sixth phrase. The name of this phrase is, glass is half empty. The meaning of this phrase is, when a person normally has a negative view of something that could be either good or bad. An example of this phrase is, so you're telling me that after 10 minutes of fishing at this beautiful lake, you don't think that there's any fish here? Really? You sure are, a glass is half empty kind of guy, aren't you? The young man is telling the older man that he's speaking in a very negative and pessimistic way, without much reason to support his claim. And just to summarize, glass is half empty is said when someone thinks bad things when in a situation, rather than having good, or optimistic, thoughts. Great! Now let's look at some video clips for examples of this phrase.
You know, some guys would look at this glass and they would say, that glass is half empty. Other guys would say, that glass is half full. I think you was a glass is half empty kind of guy, am I right?
Here, Gus is talking to Phil about his attitude towards life. Gus says that when people look at a glass of beer, some people might consider it half empty. Other people might consider it half full. Gus thinks that Phil would look at the glass as half empty. Gus is using a metaphor to suggest that Phil is a pessimistic person that tends to look at situations in a negative way.
I convinced myself that I was going to be lucky, that I could dodge the bullet.
Well, that's a great attitude to have.
She doesn't understand the concept of the glass is half empty.
Here, a patient is telling a doctor that although she got cancer, she truly believed that she would conquer the disease and recover her health. Her daughter then jokingly says that her mom doesn't understand the concept of the glass is half empty. Her daughter is saying that her mom doesn't understand how to think in a negative or pessimistic way.
Say hello to Mr. Snake. Serpentine, safe cracking machine. Imagine Houdini, but with no arms. The kind of guy who'd tell you the glass is half empty, then steal it from you. He's also my best bud. Today's his birthday.
Here, Wolf is describing the kind of person that Snake is. Wolf says that Snake is the kind of person that would tell you the glass is half empty and then steal it from you. Wolf is saying that Snake is the kind of person that would make you feel bad about having only a little of something, and then steal whatever that is from you. Okay, we've come to our last phrase. The name of this phrase is blood on your hands. The meaning of this phrase is to be responsible for someone's injury or death. An example of this phrase is, my friend lost his life while we were rock climbing. The rope that he was using broke, and he fell to his death. It was my responsibility to check the ropes before the trip, and now I feel like I've got blood on my hands. The man is saying that he feels responsible because he did not check the ropes well enough, and this caused his good friend to die. And just to summarize, blood on your hands means to be responsible or cause someone's death. Great! Now let's look at some video clips for examples of this phrase.
Just think that he thinks he's better than us. He wants to sit there in his car, keep his white shirt clean while the rest of us, we roll in the dirt. One of these days, baby, you're gonna get blood on your hands.
Here, Griff is upset with Baby because he only drives the getaway car after the other members of the gang rob the banks. Griff thinks that Baby feels he is superior to the rest of the gang because he doesn't actually steal from people or hurt them. Griff tells Baby that someday Baby will get blood on his hands. Griff is saying that Baby will eventually be involved in the violence of being a thief, and that violence might result in somebody's death.
Isn't that terrible? Well, Sweeney went out to celebrate, now we can't find him anymore. So, Sweeney has twins, and Earl Williams gets hanged tomorrow.
Now, Walter, look, it isn't...
Well, you argue with her. You argue with her. Otherwise, you're going on a honeymoon with blood on your hands. How can you have any happiness after that?
Here, Walter is talking to Bruce about a situation that they are having at the newspaper company that he works for. Walter tells Bruce that if he goes on his honeymoon on Monday, he might end up feeling guilty because he has blood on his hands. Walter is telling Bruce that if he goes on his honeymoon on Monday, he could be partially responsible for the death of a man.
How far are you willing to take this? We've got blood on our hands. We've killed innocent people.
Here, Samir is talking with Carter. They are government agents, and although they have tried to do their jobs well, innocent people have died as a result of a consulate bombing that they arranged. Samir feels that because these innocent people have died, they have blood on their hands. Samir is saying that he feels they are both partially responsible for the death of innocent people. Congratulations, you've completed the video. I hope that you will now understand these phrases when you hear them in the future.